The 2022 Investing in African Mining Indaba is underway at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver a keynote address that will highlight the developments in South Africa and reveal government's vision for 2022. SABC News economic reporter Nompumelelo Siziba is covering the story for us. Let's cross to her live now from Cape Town. A very good morning to you, Nompumelelo. Very powerful speeches by the presidents of Zambia and Botswana yesterday. What do you expect our president to say today?
Thanks very much, Desiree. Well, of course, our president is largely going to be echoing what the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy said yesterday, that is, South Africa is open for business. Some people feel that he wasn't necessarily clear about the regulatory environment, but he was saying positive things, and the president is likely to be saying the same. And of course, we'd hope that he'd also say a little bit more as the head of state. So we're looking forward to that. That's set to happen at around 10 o'clock this morning. Of course, there's been all the security checks and all of that because a head of state is in town. Yesterday it was worse because there were quite a number of them, and so the security sweeps took longer than expected, and there was a delay in the program beginning. So we're looking forward to what the president has to say. In terms of what's happening on the ground, the meetings that are being had today, a lot of emphasis on how do we ensure that we run mining more, in a carbon neutral way. So looking at technologies like hydrogen-powered instruments to ensure that there's a better carbon footprint in the way that the mining sector operates. There's also going to be a look at how the mining sector better incorporates communities and is more inclusive, ensuring that people not only benefit from the actual mining, but are actually participants in terms of being able to be local sources, suppliers to the mines and so on and so forth, so that they're able to make a decent living and be upskilled and so on and so forth. Skills is a major issue that's being raised as well. Now, we are scheduled to speak to Thandi Tobias. She's the chairperson of Brand SA, and I do hope she's around. We'd like to, if you could bring her in for me, then we're ready to speak to her. Okay, all right. Unfortunately, she's not here right now, but we will be speaking to her a little bit later. Hopefully you cross to us a little bit later. But that's basically what we're expecting. And of course, no doubt you'll be taking the president's speech live, and we'll get some analysis on it a little bit later. It's back to you in studio, Desiree.
Nampu, while we have you, I just want to ask you were talking about the introduction of hydrogen-powered instruments. And of course, South Africa led the way in this regard last week with that launch of that Anglo-American Gen X truck. What conversations have been taking place around this at the gathering?
Yes, well, of course, this is a very important issue, and as President Ramaphosa said at the time of the launch last week, he said this is the genesis of things to come in South Africa and the globe at large. This is the way forward, and these are conversations that are being had today and will be had for the rest of the time at the Mining Indaba, because we have to move away from fossil fuels. That's just the reality that the globe has decided on. There is this issue of a just transition. South Africa is heavily dependent on coal at the moment, and so there are conversations about, yes, we can make this transition, but we need to do it in a sensible way. These technologies, they cost a lot of money, and so therefore there's the issue of financing of technologies, financing of renewables, all of these things. So this is a hot topic area, and one that is set to change the face of the way that industry works right across the globe. And we know that a lot of things are happening quicker than expected in terms of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We see now the EU, which is a major buyer of Russian fossil fuels, deciding to ban them in 6 months' time. So things are happening a lot more rapidly, and that's going to then force players to actually make make the transition faster than they had hoped or were wishing to. And sometimes things like this actually need to happen. You need a jerk to actually make you do what you know you need to do. Otherwise, it's a tricky one. So these are conversations that are being had, and they're very, very pivotal indeed. But I think the big issue is going to be cost, the financing of these things, especially for African nations. But of course, that we have people from all over the world, financiers from all over the world, from London, Dubai, the US, etc., etc. People who are prepared to put their skin in the game so long as they're guaranteed a good return, a good regulatory environment where policy won't suddenly change and shift and so on and so forth. So, yeah, we just have to wait and see how this pans out over time. Desiree.
It'll be interesting to see if the South African mining sector is able to keep up with all of these changes. Nompu, thank you so much for setting the scene there for us.